The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, in which we are joined by Charlie Cousins from Hooray Health Protection. So some formal introductions first. So we have, as I've said, Charlie, who's the Director of Hooray Health Protection. He's going to tell us all about how we can build a great employee benefits package without breaking the bank. I'm also joined today by Victoria, our HR Knowledge Manager, who will be fielding any questions at the end for you, and myself, Sue Watson, who's the HR Operations Manager. We also have with us today a team who's our Digital Marketing Executive. She's providing some technical support, so if you do have any challenges, she will try and help you through it. So first of all, how you can ask us questions. We have had to put you all on mute because there's so many attendees today, so but we do still want to hear your questions. So this is how you do it. In your panel, which should look something like this, you will see a section called questions. You can type in a question there, it will appear in our panel, and then we can ask them, Charlie, at the end. So please do send them through to us, or if you're having any challenges hearing or anything else, just send us a message and we will check things out for you or give you some guidance. We are going to conduct a poll, so you will know about that when we come up to it, but it's just to help get some feedback from you. If you want to join in the poll and vote, you'll need to ensure your screen is not in full screen mode, as for some reason known only to go to webinar, it doesn't work in full screen mode. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Charlie so that he can take you through his presentation.
Oh, hello everyone. So thank you, just sharing the screen. So thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, my name's Charlie Cousins. I'm the Director at Hooray Health Protection. So I've tried to make this presentation as relevant as possible for all the participants, as we have business owners, HR directors, office managers, and many more across different industries and sectors. So please accept my apologies in advance if I'm stating the obvious to some, but I want to ensure you that it's as inclusive as possible as it can be and ensure that everyone will learn something new today. So most of the slides, we've tried to keep the information on the screen to a minimum, but we'll make sure to send them with all the attendees afterwards in case you miss anything. And as mentioned, be sure to listen out as we run some polls throughout the webinar to keep it as interactive as possible. So in terms of the agenda today, I want to start by taking some time to talk about why companies provide employee benefits, and then look at some recent research that's been completed in order to give some context into why we'll be talking about today and why many businesses believe the employee benefits are needed. We will then have a look at what benefits employees want from our recent survey and some of the off-the-record comments we received off the back of that. And following that, we'll be looking at the most common employee benefits provided in the market and what return on investment you can see as an employer. Finally, we'll be wrapping things up with a section I'm sure most of you are here for, which is our top tips and tricks. And this is really discussing how to make the benefit policies work for you, some tricks on how to get the best prices available, and some hidden terms that the insurers don't make public. But finally, we will leave time for a Q&A at the end. But as mentioned, please feel free to ask as many questions as you like throughout the presentation in the chat box provided. So let's get started onto why provide employee benefits. Now, to help with the presentation and really help me get to know what mix we are working with today, it would be fantastic to find out what benefits everyone currently offers, so we know what to do for the rest of the presentation and tailor it towards that way. So if possible, so if you could help with the first poll that's about to pop up on everyone's screen. So it might take a moment or two to come through, but if you could kindly answer what benefits you currently offer or the benefits that you currently receive from your employer if you're employed. Now, don't worry, the answers are completely confidential and you should now be seeing the options between group life insurance, group income protection, business health insurance, EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program, and non-monetary perks such as your additional holiday, days out, anything like that. So
just let that run a bit longer.
Give everyone a chance to go and do that.
Yeah, you can select more than one, by the way. So if you have more than one of those benefits. Okay, just a few more voting at the moment. Okay, I think we're all there now. So I'm going to close that poll and I'm going to share the results on the screen. So there we have it. So the top one is non-monetary perks, followed by business health insurance and EAPs. It's a close second, and then group life insurance. But nobody on this call has actually ticked the group income protection box, which is an interesting one, Charlie.
No, brilliant, and that is really interesting to know. And I think that's sort of perfect because it's the industry norms, and we will be able to cover that off later on. I think business health insurance has definitely been one of the most popular benefits offered, and the EAPs, we've seen a huge surge in COVID. So thank you everyone for answering that. And the great thing is that that's the way we've tailored this today, is predominantly around the EAPs and the business health insurance. So it's a bit good. It's been good for me to know what everyone has. Now, we've now gone into why to provide the employee benefits. Now, we've included this as it's the most common question we are asked, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So if you look at the research, such as Glassdoor's Employment Confidence Survey, which emailed 1,100 employees, you will see 60% of respondents consider perks and benefits to be a major factor when deciding whether to accept or decline a job offer. And that also 80% of respondents would prefer additional perks and benefits over a pay rise. Now, don't get me wrong, this research is great. If what you're looking for from your benefits is to be keeping up with the Joneses, making sure you're offering what your competitors are, and offering the market average to attract staff and retain the best employees. But the real question we need to really be asking is, what benefits do staff want? Now, this picture sums up a lot for me from the feedback we've had from our recent employee benefits survey. And I think if we're honest, when we speak to most employees openly and honestly, or maybe on a monthly payday night out, when it's an honest discussion, and I think most benefits people want from work, if you ask your employees, I guarantee a big percentage will say leaving work early every day, team social events once a month, or we've had recent ones which have been a slide in the office or other weird and wonderful ideas that have been surged on by the Google offices and other tech giants that you start to see. And I'm honest, if you asked me the question a few years ago when I worked at a large corporate, I would have said the same. But again, it depends on the business. And COVID has changed these needs, with most of the UK now working from home. We're really hoping that's not going to be the way of life forever, touch wood, but it will change what the benefit requirements are. And it does open discussions regarding an interesting point of, how do you know what benefits your staff want? And for business owners or HR staff on here reporting on benefits, it's, how do you ensure you're actually getting a good return on the investment? Well, this market research, it won't help as it's an average and it's not tailored to your business. But actually the best thing you can do is by surveying your staff before offering anything. So it's not the standard, but the most successful plans we've had in place that we've helped implement will be businesses that get a price for all the products first, to know about the terms and make sure they can afford them. As there's nothing worse than finding out your most desired benefit is miles out of your price range. So before discussing it with employees, go to the brokers, get a price for everything. Then once you have all the prices and you know which ones you're comfortable with, is to actually send a survey to your staff and ask them what they want from the benefits package. Because again, we've got tech firms on the books, life insurance, if your average age is 20, people haven't got families, it might not be the benefits for them. Earlier this year, we actually had a company with 50 employees who sent all their staff a paper survey to the house with a Kit Kat and a covering letter, which told them to take a break, have a Kit Kat, and tell them what benefits they wanted from the company. Now, at the time, we weren't sure it was going to work, but they actually received over 80% of the surveys completed, which is significantly higher than most of the ones which are sent out on the email messages. And we also found the findings were completely different to what they'd actually had planned for their benefits packages. But to say it was something different for the employees, and it engaged them, and it gave them a chance to actually sit down, have a read through, and have a think about what they wanted to do. And I'd suggest anyone planning for new benefits or reviewing current ones to take a similar approach. You don't have to offer the Kit Kats, of course, but we can provide you free surveys, which we've used successfully in the past. And for employers, it gives them the chance to actually think about what's going to be useful for them. Because once the benefits have been offered to the wider workplace, you've got to remember it can be put in there as a contractual requirement, and you don't want to be offering something to staff when there's actually a better suited option out there for them. So when we have a look at what are the most common benefits on this slide, now it's got quite a bit of information on here. Don't worry, if you're not taking notes, we will get this sent around after the presentation. But the graph you'll see shows the ranking based on how highly valued the benefit from the employee is, and also its return of investment value for the employer. So this has come from the Corporate Advisor Workplace Wellbeing and Protection Report and the Hooray Health and Protection SME survey, which we'll also send around after this with the follow-up. And it first surveyed the employees, ranking how they valued the benefits. This has been updated recently as it's changed since COVID, which we'll cover off in a minute. But also for employers, their return of investment. And one that you can see on there, which is interesting, would be for the most highly valued of its return of investment, group income protection is actually the highest banked for return of investment for employers. So to give you a little bit of an overview of what these policies actually cover, because again, sometimes we hear the names covered around, but it doesn't also go into it. We first up have private health insurance, which has historically been the most sought after benefit with staff. Many employers who provide this will also give the option for staff to elect to add family members. And as we've been asked countless employers in the past, most important thing in their universe, and the top two answers always, the health of my family, number one, followed by the health of my family, number two. The PMI market has been fairly stagnant over the last 10 years, but it is now seeing massive growth as people first initially were having concerns over Brexit, and now we're looking at the NHS waiting list exceeding breaking point during COVID. On that note, a side point, one thing that did come out as the most offered benefit has been business health insurance. I would suggest for everyone on this call, a number of the insurers have looked at discounted premiums or refunds because obviously the private hospitals, you were unable to access them during COVID. Make sure if you do have that in place at the moment, you're checking with your insurer if there is a discount over that time. But to go back with PMI, it's one of the benefits that means a lot to the staff. It can mean a lot to the directors, it can mean a lot, and there's a number of assurances that unwell staff can be treated and returned to work as quickly as possible. However, one of the things we always point out with private medical insurance, it is by far the most expensive of the employee benefits insurances, likely why it's also the most desired. Next up is the group life insurance, which is very inexpensive to provide. Usually there's no medical underwriting unless for the highest earners, which means that employees who can't get individual life cover to protect their families, if the worst happens, can now get cover as part of a group. But we'll be covering more on that on the next on the tips and tricks. And finally, to cover group income protection, for us, it's no surprise it's the most highly rated by employers since the pandemic struck. So up until now, for the last 10 years or so, business health insurance has always been the most desired. Since COVID-19, and we've done the more recent surveys, group income protection has been, because people are concerned more about their income if they were to have sickness or illness. Now, the benefits itself, quite simplistic. If an employee is unable to work due to an illness or injury, the employer receives a set percentage of the employee's salary, which means the employer can find a temporary replacement for the absent employee and still pay a salary to the unwell one in the meantime. But these are the most three common benefits. You'll see on there, we also have the health cash plans, the wellbeing, and the EAP is not listed on there. But let's find out how we can make these benefits work for you at the cheapest price in our tips and tricks section. So today you're going to end up with the main tips and tricks. I really want to share with you how you can provide the employee benefits without paying huge fees and make these policies work for you, because these policies are massively underutilized at the moment and most of them can only be bought via a broker. So they haven't ever been publicly advertised. So first up, if we start on EAP, which is the EAP on a budget. So employee assistance program sales have gone through the roof since the start of the pandemic, as we've seen employers scrambling to get something in place, mainly to support employees' mental health. But one thing that many of the companies didn't realise are these are included in nearly all group life insurance products and group income protection insurance as a free add-on, so you don't need to buy these again. So for those of you that are providing group life assurance, death in service assurance, and you're considering EAPs, have a look at the policy documents, as most of them have them built in. But also for those who are planning and are unaware about this, if you take out a group income protection policy, which just covers the directors or senior employees, the EAP and the added value services are available to all employees at the company. So if you had a company, 10 employees, the 2 directors take out group income protection, they can then receive cover for the whole staff. So we actually have companies providing group income protection to 5 senior employees who are already paying for it already, and they get it as a cheaper price on a business policy and claim it as a business expense. But now all 50 of their employees actually have access to an EAP. The insurers do this as it helps promote the services to the employees, which they hope will mean the employer widens the actual insurance and looks to provide to all. And also the usage on the EAPs has been historically low, around 5% usage, often due to how it's been announced to the company. But again, we might see changes with that as COVID's happened, and we are waiting for updated stats. Now, next up would be the group life insurance, which most people don't know the requirements for a new policy. If you're planning to take out death insurance service, would be an employee must be actively at work, so not advised by a doctor to not be off work, sick, and confirmation that no employees at the company have suffered a heart attack, stroke, cancer in the last 12 months. If these requirements are met, a new policy can go live, which means no health questionnaire about yourself, your staff, family history, smoking status, height, weight, or any of the hundreds of questions that are asked on the individual application. And it's priced on a group policy and not of individual, so it's always cheaper. So to give you an example, 2 weeks ago, we had a client who quoted just himself as a director, £200,000 life insurance. And it came back at £89 a month. And it was due to his smoking and his drinking habits. So we said to him, look, let's quote again and look to include 5 of your other employees that you have at the company for £50,000 each. He wasn't interested. We pushed for it. And unfortunately, when it came back, the premium was £863 a year to cover him and 5 other employees. So for 6 people, it was actually £205 a year cheaper to cover them, because it meant his younger staff brought down the average age of the group. He didn't disclose that he smoked 20 cigarettes a day, drinks like fish, and he now has the benefit of also claiming the premiums as a business expense, giving his staff a new employee benefit, and also providing the EAP that's built in. So for any of the sort of directors, senior staff, HR, anyone who's paying life insurance, it's always worth sitting down and working out how many other people are and seeing what the price is in comparison, because there's none of the health questions no family history, no social aspects, nothing else involved. We point this out as well because there might be staff at a company who can't have life insurance due to health conditions or anything about them personally, but a group policy would be able to support this. So we're talking about people with historic health conditions. And again, this is a benefit that if you're providing to staff, you're going to have someone who is going to value the benefit, and it's going to be likely for them to stay with the company long term, and they're not going to be looking at another business that can't offer this benefit. Now, the next one, which is good to talk about, is the group income protection, because again, no one has it on this call. But group income protection, like a normal income protection policy, does pay out for absences, but the section that no one speaks about is each insurer offers an early intervention service where they ask the client to inform them from the first day of a serious absence of what's wrong with themselves or an employee to help support them back to work. So we're not talking about sort of the common colds, it'd be the serious accident. So an example would be if an employee has a road traffic accident and requires physiotherapy and they were looking to be off work for 8 months, if you notified the insurer, they would actually look at funding private physiotherapy for them to help them back to work sooner. Not saying the insurers are saints and everything, but it's because for them, the insurer, the employees get back to work as soon as possible. The employer doesn't have to hire a replacement, they get their employee back, and the insurer pays out less on a claim. So a great example I have is from when I was at the insurer MetLife. One of their clients had actually had an employee who was diagnosed with epilepsy. And due to this, she lost her driving license for at least a year, which meant she couldn't get back to work because she was technically signed off sick because she needed the car as a requirement from her work. She was off with epilepsy, took away the driving license, so the group income protection claim kicked in. So instead of actually paying a claim, MetLife had agreed to hire a driver to take her to and from work every day until she got her driver's license back. Because for them, it was cheaper for them than paying the claim, but it also really supported the client because they didn't want to be off work for a year waiting around, and the employer didn't have to worry about hiring a new employee and training them back to work. Now, these services are vital to businesses, and in 2019, they were used 74,700 times across the UK, and 34.7% of all employees being supported back into work before they reach the claim stage. And again, a lot of people think these can be relatively expensive. We've done a quote today for 3 employees, group income protection, and it was £470 a year. So it all depends on your unique company, but when you look at the prices and compared to individuals, it's significantly cheaper. The next is cutting back on broker fees. This is just a highlight for yourselves. Anyone that's paying at the moment, if you get the price from an insurer or a broker directly, the prices will be the exact same. You do not receive a cheaper price from going to an insurer, but you should never pay a broker's fee for the service. As brokers like myself, we're actually paid by the insurer for placing business with them. So unless you're at a massive corporate company that requires additional services, it's not needed, and make sure you review that when it comes up for yourself the next time. The next slide, just to make protecting your business, it's just to let people know it's a service that isn't done. Just looking at the time, the protecting your business was going to cover key person insurance, which would be if you have any key people at your company, you can look to protect their life, and how these products work. But I'm thinking with the time we're having, might not have enough time. So if you are interested in these, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Also, the final one for health insurance, as it states to cover existing conditions. A lot of you may know in the United Kingdom, the new health policies will be set up on a moratorium basis, which means any pre-existing conditions will be, from the last 2 to 5 years, will be excluded for the first 2 years of the policy. One of the options that you can look at is if you are looking to get pre-existing conditions covered or a wider range of cover which aren't available under the UK schemes, you can look at international policies which will cover pre-existing conditions. They are considerably more expensive, but again, it's something to make sure that everyone's aware of because these aren't widely protected. And if you need to discuss this, please feel free to contact me for more information. But yeah, I wanted to make sure we got that all done and it's within time. So thank you everyone for joining. And I appreciate it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but it's a very large topic. So hope that you've all been able to take something away with you. And for those of you that are providing the benefits at the moment, really think about what it is that you have in place and make sure that you are utilising the most of them. If you'd like to run through anything, business, employer, any questions on a group, individual basis, my details are there on the screen. That's also a list of all the partners that we use currently and that we actually work with, and we're happy to help you with anything there. Or if anyone would like to make any contact, feel free to drop me an email and do it there. So I will pass it over to yourself, Sue, with any questions.
Thank you, Charlie. It's Victoria. That was really informative, really helpful. No, that's okay. It was really interesting. Thank you very much. I particularly like the top tips and tricks information, very informative. Just looking at the, if we've had any questions come in, we haven't actually. I think you've covered a great amount, so that's really helpful. Thank you. So on that note, I am going to hand over to Sue, and she'll bring the webinar to a close.
Thank you both. So just before we go, we wanted just to alert you of one or two things that may help you. First of all, we invite you to help us with some research. We're currently working with Deloitte to learn about the challenges businesses are facing over the next 12 months. So we have got a survey undergoing at the moment, and we invite you to join it. So there's a link there on the screen, and you will get a copy of these slides with all this information as well. We will then give you a copy of the report, the findings afterwards. So yes, I hope you'll help us participate in that. Just in terms of supporting you as well ongoing, we, as we were saying, and as Charlie was saying, EAPs are one of the most common things we're asked about, and mental health issues are a lot, we are providing a lot of advice on supporting staff through this. We can offer a first aiders for mental health qualification if you're interested, so do contact us to let us know if you're interested in doing this for your workplace or attending one of our delegated training courses that we are running in November. We also, if you are interested in EAPs in particular, but any of the other services that Charlie has talked about, then do contact us and we will put you in touch with him. If you don't have his contact details to hand, you can always contact us and we will put you in touch. We also have, Charlie was talking about surveying your staff before implementing any new benefits to make sure you're providing what they are looking for and not what you think they need. As it always goes down better. And we are offering a free trial with Engagement Multiplier, which is a survey of people's current feelings, and they have the opportunity to put forward suggestions, and you can do a free trial and you can add your own customized questions, and one of them could be, what of the following benefits would you find would you feel would be of benefit to you, and engage and kind of understand their feelings and motivations at the moment and how you might support them better. And then as one of your actions, it could be to talk through with Charlie options that have come up on your survey and what options are available to you to provide them in a cost-effective manner. And then if you do want to talk to us, if you do want any support or help, we do provide it on an ad hoc basis, as well as to retain clients of ours. So if you need any help in talking about all your options going forward, we do appreciate how difficult it is for everybody out there. It's tough, and we are trying to provide as much support as possible. If you don't already subscribe to our newsletter, then you can sign up for this on our website. We will keep you posted of developments and of anything else that the government decides to introduce. We try and get it out there as quick as possible with guidance on what to do and information that's available to you. We are running a few more webinars coming up. We've got a hugely popular Brexit one next week. We're also doing a statutory compliance health and safety webinar at the end of the month. And then next month, we're looking at right to work and new immigration points-based system. And there's more being added almost on a weekly basis at the moment as we respond to developments and requests from people who kind of attend these webinars. So please do let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about and you'd like to see in this webinar series, and give us any feedback on the information that we're providing. We always welcome it. Finally, I would like to say thank you to Charlie for a very informative webinar. It's been really interesting, and I'm sure we've all learned a lot that we didn't know before about benefits, and it will be hugely helpful as we try and work our way through these next few months. So thank you to Victoria for helping support this webinar, and to our team there in the background keeping everything running smoothly. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everybody.